Where are you, John?
John, maybe you better make me a co-host in case it happens again.
Good idea. Always on top of things, Tom. You're always on top of things. Just in case. Done. Hopefully that'll be it, but it was came down like no tomorrow, and rather ugly. But
Where are you, John? I don't know.
I'm in Arizona right now. I'm just and so I'll be back before long. Just out for a little bit. But it just happened to be the weather's been glorious. Of course, I've been working remotely, so I've not really been enjoying the weather. But then this storm came up and boom. So at any rate, you know, they get rather vivid thunderstorms out here. So, at any rate, so I just finished my show and tell. Did anyone else have anything before I move on to? I just have to do is bring up the video that I had just a little while ago. You lose me,
John. The recording stopped, so you're gonna have to start it again.
Oh, did it? That's weird. Yeah. No, it says I still have it on. I lost the first recording, but this claims I'm still recording. At least that's what I think is true.
Well, the recording section was out until you were back up for about 10 seconds, and then the recording came in by itself, I think.
Yeah, I actually restarted the recording, but what I don't know is whether we'll get the full segment of the earliest stuff prior to the power outage. Probably not. So I'll look at the recording, but it's still worth posting. I'll send it up. But I'm sadly, guys, there's a chance we will miss the announcements part being put up to YouTube. But I suppose anything that's time dependent, like this weekend, I'll get it up by the weekend. But it may not catch enough eyes to catch the immediate weekend stuff. But at any rate, so what I'm going to do is because my laptop, I've had this for about, I don't know, it's 5-6 years. Gets a little stressed when I'm running a video, sharing my screen with the video, but I happen to have my iPad, which it is joined as well. So I'm going to run the video from that. What I'm going to do though, so I'm going to share. I need to, first I need to have it joined. That would certainly help.
I don't think that's connected up. It was connected before you had the storm.
Yeah, it's emitting just now. I just forgot to when I was trying to
there
get
it goes. It's connecting now.
Yeah, we're good to go. All right. So I'm going to do is share. Whoops. I'm going to share a screen. Oh no.
How do you spell latency?
Yeah, I know, huh?
It's like watching my Verizon Fios cable.
Okay, so let's see. I want to go to the. All right.
If you're an Arizona homeowner, 2022 is your last chance to go solar. In December of 2020, Congress passed an extension to the solar investment credit, which pays homeowners an average of $9,880 to install solar panels. See how much you can be.
I don't remember this at the convention.
There we go.
Hey, how come Warren Zevon?
Hi, boys and girls, it's me. And I'm back in my dining room in my home in New Jersey. And you might be wondering, why aren't you at Kutztown, doing it like you normally do? I figured if I did it here, it's a little bit quieter. Berwin's in the background crying. See, now I still have noise. But typically it's so noisy when I start to do this that no one can hear me anyway. So I just see a guy going, and I'm just like, going through the motions, doing some kind of weird dance. But anyway, I wanted you guys to hear this. Anyway, first of all, it's over, okay? But I had a great time. I've met people from Tennessee, Vermont, Alabama, a couple people from Pittsburgh, and somebody from Canada, and everybody that, not everybody, but a lot of people have come up to me and thank me and they enjoyed the video. So I hope you enjoyed this one as well. I had a great time. You know, people that have never been there before have just been, you know, really enthusiastic about the event, and it speaks for itself. So let me stop talking and let's get to the video, and I'll catch you at the end. Bye.
Hey, Bob, you're back. Wow, you got Bob at both places. So Bob, you can feel the voiceover if you so choose.
Well, I did a little pan around from Friday morning just to kind of give you the effect of what was going on, what the event kind of looks like from the two buildings. And of course, you always have to go sooner or later, right? So I figured I'd get them in there.
Yeah, that looks vintage.
So now we're just going around. You can see that's the secondary pavilion to the left and the main pavilion to the right. Kind of seems a little bit strange. There was a lot of transistors there. I mean, I love ordering. And for some reason, the prices seem to be going up and up and up on these things. You have a bunch of old transistors, they're longer. This one that was in the presentation case, I think the guy wanted $250 for that. Oh yeah, there's the price tag on the thing.
Holy shit.
And here's a whole table full right here, different ones, a lot of Zenith stuff.
Wow.
A couple Channel Masters, some Japanese ones. Oh, and this, you gotta love this. Read this shirt.
Love it.
Here I found a gentleman that I've never met him before until this weekend, and he put this little blue tarpaulin backdrop in. He was selling all these consoles, and they were all restored, and he did the work himself, and they were gorgeous. Various ones. That's a Grinnell right there. That looks like an RCA, but I think that's a GE. That one right there.
Wow, that's beautiful.
There's a 12-tube Zenith from 1941, shutter dial, really nice radio. There's a Silvertone. This one was kind of unique. This was an airline console, which I've never seen before.
Wow.
And then on top, the radio was playing, and then the lips were moving along with the radio.
Yeah.
So that's why that's.
I hate to admit it, I got two of those.
Okay. One of my buddies just picked up one of these freshman masterpieces, and the thing that's cool is 501As. It's a battery set. It's $3, but it's got a built-in reproducer inside the box, and he was having problems with his reproducer. And I should have bought that. There's a 5S319 Zenith from 38, a white dial. Really nice. And there's big numbers on some of these radios, $500 for that.
Yeah, that's nice.
That was his asking price. I know the guy that was selling these things. He bought out in the state. And look at this, for World's Fair 900. There was actually two World's Fair radios that were for sale. The other one, I think the guy wanted $650. That's a neat little sign, GE tubes.
Yeah, I like it.
Now, there were two Crosley's here. That blue one there, that's restored, $300. That's not an original color. That's somebody's car repaint.
Yeah.
That is a repaint as well, but that's the correct color.
That's a nice color.
Yeah. And then if you're into audio, here's some nice transistor stuff, receivers. This was a Sherwood from probably the late 70s.
Sure.
I think it was $150 that was the asking price on
Yeah.
that.
I mean, it looks in very nice shape.
Here's a nice Fisher 500B. The 500Bs, I don't see a lot of them around, but I was an FM only receiver, kind of like the 400 ones. And now they're going to hit you with another commercial.
There we
Also,
go.
if you want to play Russian interrogation with the Army, okay, never mind.
I skipped the ads as soon as I can.
2330B from 1978. I actually have a 2285B. It looks identical to that receiver. He wanted 1750, and believe it or not, that's a little bit over what they're going for.
Really?
Yes. And there's Darren. You guys might know Darren from the New Jersey and the Delaware Valley Historic Radio Club. And now we're auctioning it. That was a AK-37 that was up for auction, minus tubes. I think it only went for like $10 or $5 or something like that. Some really low number. There wasn't a lot in the auction this time around, only because there wasn't a lot of, sometimes the Delaware Club, they take in estates. And unfortunately, this time around, there wasn't any estates where people were cashing in or bringing in their radio collections. There's remember them? Have you ever gone to a New Jersey diner and saw one of them on the table? That's a
Interesting.
remote for a Seabird, for a diner. I think that went for
Cool.
like $15.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that was in the auction went really, really cheap.
That's pretty neat.
Now, I almost cried. That's a 41 Zenith 10 tuber.
Mhm.
It's got 6v6s and push pull. And I'm looking at that thing and I'm like, oh my God, I should have brought a bigger car. I would have taken that thing home in a heartbeat. And Darren was struggling trying to get some bids on it. And finally I yelled out that, hey, this thing's got 6v6s and push pull. And the guy actually pulled out his Billy bidding card and walked away with that for $10.
Oh,
Yeah, there's my wife sitting there.
oh yeah.
Missing her cats and wanting to go home. It's a Heathkit transmitter.
Yep,
That-
DX100.
That went for, I think, like $40.
No, but that's not an HW100. That's a DX100.
I had a couple people correct me on that. And I just, that was a brain fart on my part. So you are right. That was a nice little transmitter. Others, the Heathkit moniker was
What
falling
did that
apart.
go for?
$40.
Oh, my God.
The
40
tubes are
bucks.
worth that at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
There was a couple of transmitters that went pretty cheap. This is a 45 EY3, 45 RPM RCA play phonograph. I think that only went for like $20. That actually has a carry handle, but it was actually inside the box.
Looks complete. You
Yeah,
know,
the
outside.
Bakelite was in good shape and in good condition. There's a lot of bargains to be had in this auction. I just, I had a really hard time holding on to my bidding card here because a lot of stuff went cheap. Here's a nice little Philco 37630.
Oh yeah. Looks pretty solid.
It's pretty solid. It's pretty much all there, except when you turn it around, the little inductor to do the shadow tuning meter was missing. I noticed that when I watched the video a second time. You see how it's not there?
Mhm.
Unless it's just laying in the box somewhere and I didn't see it. But other than that, it's a complete radio. I think that finished up at $35, I think. I think the most expensive thing in the whole auction was like 75 bucks. And here's a little nice signal generator. I think that went for like 5 or 10 bucks. The thing that was nice about that is it had the original manual with it.
That's
You
always a
usually
plus.
see a lot of that stuff. You'll find ICO, Night, all that, but that has a manual. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, no, it's always a big plus.
I'm trying to remember everything. It was oh, this was, I think it was an Apex. That's right. Apex $3. It's got 301As in it. That went for, I think, like 15 bucks. And it was really a nice looking radio. It probably limited with just the three tubes in it, but it still was in really nice shape.
Yeah.
It's great if you live at the base of the tower.
Yeah. Well, think of it as a crystal radio, except it's got tubes instead of a tickler. I'm trying to remember all this stuff here. This was, I think, at Emerson. Yeah, a little Emerson Bakelite AM radio. This was actually very nice.
Yeah, look at that.
Look at it. The Bakelite was kind of shiny and clean. I think that I don't think that even made $15 or $20.
Wow, that's a
And
steal.
here's the thing that kills me. I've been seeing Philco Hippos, both painted and the regular Bakelite ones. They're going, go on eBay. They're like 100, 150 bucks.
Yeah.
Now granted, this one's missing the back, and as with the painted ones, you find a few paint chips in there. That radio went for $40, which I thought was a great deal.
Yeah. Yeah, this is lots of bargains to be had this time around.
So this time around, you could have walked away with some. There was one guy in there, I'm sure he was buying about half of everything that was in there. All right, so here's Saturday morning. It's the final day. This is the building we drive up to as a seller and check in, and they give you your paperwork and all that stuff. So here's the back of the second pavilion. There's the main pavilion down there, and there's even a couple people out here on the lawn. I tried to find some different stuff. This is a General Electric clock radio, but it's actually built to a table.
Wow. I've never seen one of those.
I've never seen one of these.
Oh, Telecron too. All right.
I think it had the Telecron movement on it.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So
I
it's it.
forget what this was, but this was it's a Motorola.
Wow. Not seen very often.
It's just a two-bander, but it's just a really presents itself really nice.
$150. Wow. That's not
$150.
bad.
Now, I've never seen one of these. This is a Michigan MRC4, and I don't know if it's a 3-dial or what, but it just was all kinds of weird knobs and gizmotches on it. And of course, I love these guys, so I had to get a few of them in there.
Oh yeah, no, that's
big numbers on these though, and they didn't have to be because these are so common. But granted, they're in nice shape. L600, that's really a $150 radio. Here's a leather. That's a $250 radio. Look at the numbers on this. Oh, and I would have loved to have bought this bomber, but I wasn't going to pay his number on this. I don't think he would have come down too much on this. I'm trying to remember what he had. I think he had.
What was he looking for that? Wow.
700. Wow.
700. Sweet fancy Moses. Oh, $1,100.
Yeah. So now this is the DVHRC's, what they call the buy it now table. So you have people that donate stuff, or let's just say, well, I really don't want to bring this home with me, so I'll donate this to the club. And then you bring it up to the table, and then they try to sell it or get wherever they can for it. And it all goes to the Delaware Valley Historic Radio Club. That was a really nice Edison player right there. Here's an unusual Sonora.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
I like that.
That was a real pretty radio. Yeah. Of course, you've seen these, Stromberg Carlson's made in Rochester.
Oh, yeah. We're going to try to have the gentleman who's an expert in Stromberg Carlson in one of the future Zoom meetings once he feels a little bit better.
This was an airline. I think it was a 6-tube or 7-tube radio with a tuning eye, and it went for $5.
$5, wow.
$5 it went for. And here's some of the locals they're around by where my table is. That's the guy that had all those expensive stereo equipment right there.
Oh, okay.
And you look straight ahead, you'll see my wife standing there, and then my scrolling marquee that says "Got Tubes" because I sell tubes at the event.
Oh, I'll put you back on. Let me get you back off of mute.
Boys and girls, it's me. Now you hit the red button again.
My wife. This followed me home, and this followed me home. Yeah, don't go at that number. I paid $170 for that.
Do not buy solar panels. If you live in one of these 11 states.
You can kill that.
Yeah.
I love the Sencor Mighty Mite testers. That was the 162. And that's really a wonderful tester because I actually have a couple of them. What's nice about them is that when I sell tubes at events, I don't want people coming to me at the next event saying that you sold me a crappy tube. So I'm really fussy about testing and cleaning tubes and labeling them. John Cummer he's seen what I bring and how everything's labeled up. And for the most part, I try to keep my prices as low as I can because there's people that are coming up to me that probably make 6 figures a year, but I'm sure that And I've seen them. I see people that are on fixed incomes and, you know, they want a 12 SQ7 and I'll sell it to them for $3 instead of $13 for a tube dealer plus shipping.
Yep.
You know, so
Yeah,
people are, so to have a tester like that, that's accurate. That tester was calibrated. I know how to calibrate them anyway, but the guy said it was calibrated. When I brought it home and checked it out again, it was. But they're just real handy, and I can do a lot of tubes quickly with one of those testers, you know, because if I'm there with my Hickok 600, I'm there like there, okay, bias, and you know, it takes me like 2 minutes to set it all up before testing it. Plus,
Well,
one thing that tester has, which is kind of cool, and I'll explain real quick. It has what's called a life test. Now, all you guys know that if you have a rectifier tube, all right, you put it on any tester, it's either going to be good or it's going to be not good. The only indicator that the heater is really the factor is any good is where you watch how fast the needle comes up. If it comes up rather quickly, then you know it's probably okay. If it takes like 10 seconds to get the thing, you know, up into the green, then you know it's probably going to be a problem. So that Sencor tester on the very bottom, if you go back to the video, but you don't have to do it now, but if you watch my video at the end, you'll see there's a button on the bottom that says life test. And it's really cool. What that does is, now you remember if you guys have old cars, I have an old car. Remember when you used to load test the battery, you get a big load tester, you clamp it onto the battery, and then you hit a switch. And what it does is it puts a big resistor on it. And what that does is actually putting the battery under load, and then you can watch the meter, the scale, to see if it's actually testing okay or not. Well, the life test almost emulates taking that. And if the heater element is no good or well worn, you just hit the switch, it puts a resistive load on the heater of the tube. And if it just doesn't crawl or it's really, really dead slow, you know that tube, although it'll probably test okay, it's going to go, you know, pretty soon. So I don't even bring them with me. I just throw them out, and that's it. You know, that's a nice tester to have. And are there any questions? There's going to be a test.
I'll tell you a little story about. I sell a lot of tubes on the internet, mostly audio files, and you don't know how many times I sold a tube. Later on, the guy comes back to me and says, well, this tube didn't test as well as you said it did, and this on and so forth. Or it's, you know, it's burned out. And I tell them, look, all the tubes are guaranteed. You send it back to me, I'll replace it. I never hear from them.
I'll tell you, sure, I'll make this story real short. I've only had one guy ever bring a tube back to me, and he was an audio guy, okay? So what I had was, I can't remember the number. It was a Western Electric tube. I want to say VT75 or whatever, but basically the tube was a 4-pin tube, like a 45. And it worked like a 45, except instead of having a 2.5 volt filament, this thing could be run as high as 7, maybe even 7.5 volts. I can't remember the number. It's a VT military number. So I explained it to the guy.
VT25.
Was it?
VT25.
That sounds right, Larry. Thank you. I couldn't remember. I could barely remember what I had for breakfast. Thank you. So
It's the same tube as a 10. It's a
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I explained this to the guy, and I said, well, this is a 45, except it's got a significantly higher voltage for the filament. So I had a $65 price tag on the thing, I think, and he gave it to me. 6 months later, go back to the same swap because it's a twice a year thing. And he says, this tube's no good. I didn't say anything. I just said, all right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I can either give you your $65 back right now, or you could just go through everything and you'll have $65 of store credit wherever you want. He says, well, let me just see what you have. So he still like rummaged through all my stuff and bought like $130 worth of stuff. So he gave me, I think, the balance, and that was fine. I took the tube home. There was nothing wrong with it. It was the same thing. So, you know, Rob, I get it. I've seen that. Yeah, that's an extreme case, but that happens.
Oh yeah, what they want is they want me to tell them, okay, keep the tube, I'll send you a new one.
Yeah, the other thing too is that everybody, all the audio guys are concerned about not just tube matching or all that crap, but also microphonics.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
you could buy a 12AU7. There's not going to be a guarantee that if you put it in your preamp, it may create noise. So why not just buy a 12AU7A? Then you know it's a little bit ruggedized, and you might be better off with it. So, these are just all these little things I try to explain to people, and it is what it is. So sometimes that happens.
Well, they do have some interesting misconceptions, I'll say that.
Oh yeah, the audio guys. Well, actually, sometimes during like a New Jersey meeting or whatever, we'll sit there and talk about tubes and everything, and all the audio files come up. Oh well, you know what this audio file said, and and oh, I run my stereo with the oxygen-free wire to the speakers and all this other crap. No.
I worked, just to interject here, I worked for Hewlett Packard for 37 years. We made, RF and microwave and audio network analyzers, spectrum analyzers, and we actually had some employees who were quote unquote audiophiles, but yet they were systems engineers who had access to network analyzers, so they could measure all the S parameters of their speaker wire, but yet they could still tell me that they could hear the difference between different kinds of speaker wire. And it's like, you have a freaking network analyzer that has 1,000th of a dB resolution and 100th of a degree of phase resolution. You can see it's, the Romex that you have going through your house or a coat hanger is the same as that $10 a foot speaker wire that you say sounds better. It's like, what's wrong with you people? But what are you going to do?
Yeah, perception is reality, as strange as it may be.
Yep.
Well, it just makes the world a fun place, right?
Yeah.
Well, when I sell my tubes, I don't do buy it now anymore. I start them off at a reasonably low value, and if people want to pay more for it, that's fine. But it's amazing. But I do sell a lot of tubes, and I sell a lot of tubes because I sell them at a reasonable price, and I have a lot of very satisfied people.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's the best way to go about it. I mean, I only started my selling tubes probably about 13, 14 years ago, because at a ham fest, and I had some radio I was working on, and I think I needed a 6F6, and I bought one from a guy for like at that time $2, and I asked him if the tube was good. Oh yeah, it's a good tube. Okay. So I handed him the $2, brought it home, and then I think a couple days later I go to the radio, stick it in the radio, and radio ain't doing nothing. So I pull it out, put it in my tester, and of course I had an open film it.
Nice.
I said, you know what? I wonder how often this happens to people. And I was actually in between jobs, and I found a guy on Staten Island that had one of these eBay for you stores. Remember when they used to pop up and you drag your stuff in there and they'll sell your crap on eBay or wherever you had. And so apparently they had bought an old TV repair shop or something in Staten Island. And my wife thought I was nuts. I said, you know what? I'm going to start doing this for like Hamfest and swap meets. I'm going to buy a bunch of tubes. I'm going to try to sell them to people cheap, and I'll get like a small thing going on the side. Yeah, it seems like a lot of work. I said, well, I'm not working right now. I'm still trying to find a job. I was out of work for I think like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Got nothing else to do right now. I might as well do this. All right. Well, $1,300 later, I came home, my Toyota Camry wagon full of tubes. And I had some nice tubes. I mean, I had some good audio stuff and some Amperex 12AX7s and stuff like that. I had Bugle Boys, and it just went on from there. And I've just been doing it ever since. And well, even John, you can talk. Even ask John Cummer. John Cummer bought a tube for me from $2, and he said, "Why are you selling this for $2? I could take this right now and sell on eBay for $15." So that's not the point, John.
No,
John. Yes.
Yeah. No, I remember that, and but I didn't buy it for you for the purpose of me selling it. But I've sold since the beginning of the year 180 or so tube auctions on eBay. So I've heard every kind of story you can imagine. And normally I'll just tell the people, send a tube back. And as I've had one person send it back.
I even tell them I'll pay for the postage.
I do the same thing, and I had one person send back, the tube was fine. And what I did is I blocked them from bidding on my stuff.
Yeah.
And it was an audio tube, there was no problems with it. And I use a TV7 tube tester, and I have a B&K, and I have a Hickok, but people seem to like seeing you use a TV7 tube
Yeah, it's
tester.
one of the worst tube testers there is.
I don't, all I know is I'll do what they want, you know, but
I need a matched pair. I want the G sub M tester. I need to know the transconductance of that.
Yeah, or they want that Ampliplex, was it the Ampliplex? The one that's a very expensive one. And I'm like, I'm not.
I use a 539C.
Okay, that's
very good. I'll tell you right now, that's one of the finest tube testers ever made.
It's always better to make fast nickels instead of slow dimes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, but I mean, I've sold expensive tubes. I've sold tubes for $500 and to the crazy audiophiles. No, true. I sold
283s.
No, I sold a Genelex Gold Lion tube, new old stock from the early 60s. It's a U52. Now, no one's ever heard of that. It's a 5U4G. All right, that's what it is. A U52, and you can Google it. It's a 5U4G, you know, ST shaped. It was new in the box. It was in a sealed plastic bag with the data sheet for the tube from the early 60s. And some crazy guy paid $511 for it.
Oh my God.
And I'm thinking, like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? I mean, I guess, and he sent me an email.
And then he put it in some piece of equipment that he failed to change the electrolytic filter cap.
That's all he said. He said, I love the sound of it in some amplifier he put it into. And I'm thinking, you can't hear this difference. What's wrong with you? You know.
I'm going to tell you guys a story, and this is the absolute truth. Years ago, I bought an estate up in Plymouth, Mass, and there was a lot of equipment, old stuff, and I took it home and I sold a lot of it off. And the only thing I wanted out of the whole estate was an old HRO. And anyway, he called me a few days later, or no, maybe about a couple of weeks later, and says, "Hey, I've got a box of tubes here that we found up over the garage. They were sitting on the rafters." And he says, "You interested in them?" And I says, "I don't know." I says, "I have to look at them." So I drove up to Plymouth, and there we had two wooden crates of tubes. They weren't very big. They were small. One was a cheese crate, and the other one was, I don't know, some liquor box. And they were covered with, I want to say, about half an inch to an inch of dirt, of dust. They must have been up in that garage for 50 years for all I know. So I'm looking through them and I'm saying to myself, "Well, what do you want for them?" He says, $200. I says, "Well," I says, "I'm going to tell you what," I says, I might be buying a couple of boxes full of glass, but I'll give you $100. He says, "Sold." So I took them home, washed them all off, cleaned them up. In that box was a lot of tubes, different tubes, but there was two Western Electric 300As.
Wow.
I tested them and they were good.
Awesome.
I put them on eBay and started off at $100. $2,800 later, a guy from Hong Kong bought them.
Wow.
All the expensive
auction closed.
audio tubes go to Asia, every one of them.
Yep.
And I don't ship to Asia. They have freight forwarders on the West Coast.
Yeah.
The Asian market, they love Western.
Well, this was a
everything.
this was a guy in Hong Kong. That's where he was. And it was before, this was maybe about right around 2002, 2003, right around that time. And the auction closed on like a Sunday, and he wanted, and I had a bank account that people could wire money to. And by Monday morning, the money was wired to that account.
Less for me, please.
Where is that?
Bathroom.
Oh,
So anyway, I packed this thing really carefully. I mean, I must have triple packed it, wrapped it up in fiberglass. I mean, I really put some effort into packing it. Sent them to him. The guy was happier than a pig wallowing in the crap. And he told me, he said, look, if you get any more of these, he says, don't even, just call me. I'll pay you whatever you want. And I says, well, Western Electric 300As are like panning for gold. I says, you find them, you find them. You know, I haven't found any since. And anyhow, that's the story on that. Now I'm going to tell you a little story about 300As. They're very, very rare. The reason why they're very, very rare is because the glass in Western Electric tubes was absolutely rare, because Western Electric processed that glass to get all the gas out of it. So these tubes had great reliability. Now, when you had a tube burn out, or when you were replacing tubes and you were working in a repeater station, you turned all those tubes back to Western Electric, because they melted them all down to get the glass to make 300Bs. So that's why you don't see too many 300As. But do you know what a pair of Western Electric 300As sells for today?
I have no idea.
$36,000.
Yikes.
Oh, my God.
that's a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an expensive car.
Well,
Yeah.
it was a car a couple of years ago. Now the average car, I think, starts at 40 now.
Yeah. Sad but true, Bob.
But that's my story.
That's a heck of a story.
That's a great story. I've never heard that, but the reprocessing of the glass, the recycling.
Yes. Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because that glass is absolutely pure. And those had engraved bases and everything else, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
People loved them. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah, even my returned $65 VT25, I put that on eBay, and somebody in Japan, I think it was $185 I got for it.
Yeah.
So I just put it on eBay because I just got tired of looking at the tube. I don't want this thing around. I have struggle with people and everything, but they loved it. So, but Western Electric, anything going out to Asia, they love that stuff. It goes far beyond the tubes. It's Western Electric. Another thing they look for are speakers, like theater speakers and audio transformers, and even the solder, like the solder that the telephone companies used to use. I forget what brand it was, but they were made by Western Electric. They buy the solder.
I've sold Western Electric solder.
What was the name of that? They had
it's
a brand.
Nassau,
that's
brand.
right.
And I found a 1 pound roll of it once, not used. And some guy in Japan paid $125 for it. And this is like 15 years ago. And I'm thinking, and he sent me a note. He thanked me, and he was going to.
I can hear the difference in that solder.
I
I can hear it. I know it sounds different than regular solder.
Yeah, I mean, these are crazy.
I have Nassau
people.
solder on my rain gutters, and it's perfect. I'll tell you.
But no, it's not. It's the guy was happy. He sent me an email. I enjoy soldering with it, and I'm like, go ahead, knock yourself out. But if you find Nassau solder or look at it on eBay, you'll see it goes for a lot of money, and it's batshit crazy things.
Some of that stuff is some of the craziest things. I just shake my head, but
it's like the guys who buy the used Bumblebee capacitors.
Yes.
I mean, you could cut them out of an old radio and sell them for like a few dollars each. You know, I'm like, what are they thinking? They can't work it's no longer a 0.01 or a 0.05. It's who knows.
It's a 0.01 with about a several thousand ohm resistor across it.
I don't want a 0.05. I need the 0.047. It's got to be the 0.047.
Oh,
with a
yeah.
10K
Those-
resistor embedded in it somewhere.
Well,
There's just a foil capacitor with Bakelite around it. That's all it
It's
is.
crazy. Just crazy.
I actually had one of them things blow up in my face.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they were excellent
I mean,
exploders.
it wasn't, it wasn't devastating, but I'll tell the story real quick. This is a true story now. You guys know I do a lot of transoceanics, tube transoceanics. And I forget which model I had, but there's always a .047 that actually, one thing about a tube transoceanic is that it has a chassis ground and then it has a floating ground or an isolation ground.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, so some of you guys have worked on, you already know that. But there's a .047 that goes to the floating ground, and that's a key element of the circuit. So I had one literally sitting upside down in my shop, and I got a variac on it, and I think I had the thing up to about 100, 105 volts, and all of a sudden that thing went pop, and it just literally split in half. There was nothing left but two wires and just a little bit of foil with like a small 1/4-inch gap there. And this is like watching a cartoon, guys. Think about this. After it exploded, it had a perfectly symmetrical smoke ring, and it just started going straight up real slow. And it was like watching a Bugs Bunny Roadrunner cartoon or something where
was your face
something
all black?
crazy happens.
Did you stop praying?
I
Yeah,
wish
you
I had
guys have
that on.
smoke coming off your head.
If I could get another transoceanic to do that, I could get 5 million hits on YouTube and make a lot of money.
Great entertainment.
Because it was just
You all know what silver migration is, right? Or silver
yeah.
micro disease.
Thunderstorm.
Yeah. If you get to work on any SX42s and they sound kind of like, you're going through, you replaced all the caps, you aligned it, and the thing just sounds like, kind of flat, okay? Well, you go in and you take apart the IF transformers and you start checking those microcapacitors, and their value will be like 200 picofarads, but you'll measure about 100,000 ohm resistance across them, or maybe even 50,000, but you'll measure some high value of resistance. I've seen them as low as 10,000. Anyway, that's just like putting a resistor across the IF transformers. And what that does is that really lowers the Q and cuts down on the impedance that your IF transformers are seeing. If you get a radio like that and you go in and replace all those caps, it's a tedious job, believe
It's
me.
an awful job. It's a terrible job.
And that radio will it'll blow your socks off afterwards.
2 words, K-Tran.
What's that?
2 words, K-Tran.
K-Tran, yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
I was going to ask you about the auction. I seen that Darren was doing the auction at the Kutztown. I forget what his name was. The other gentleman who used to do it for so many years. How's he doing?
He's got some serious medical issues right now. He's dealing with stage 4 prostate cancer.
I remember you saying that in one of the previous videos he had.
And both him and his wife they're really wonderful people. And when I found out he had this problem, I almost wanted to cry because he's a great guy. But Darren, I actually have some stuff on my camera where Darren was talking about him and why he's doing the auction and not. His name was Pete Graves.
Right.
And because Pete obviously couldn't make it, Darren, before he started the auction, said, I'd like to everybody just bow their head for a few seconds and just keep your thoughts and prayers in for him, and hopefully he's going to come through with this. But I hope I'm wrong, but it's last time I saw him, he was in really rough shape. But he's the kind of guy who's very smart, and he would basically do anything for anybody. And his wife does things. She does rescue German Shepherds. She takes care of like a lot of abandoned German Shepherd dogs and stuff like that. And she finds homes for them. A lot of them have been going to military personnel, people that train animals for people like vets that come back and, they need some companionship. So, they both are great people, and I just hope that Pete comes back. I really do. It would be great.
They can do a lot for prostate cancer today.
Yeah, but I think by the time they found Pete's,
Yeah, well, yeah. You
way
gotta-
in there, and that's I mean, even my next door neighbor, he's a guy in his late 70s. I was talking to him earlier this afternoon, and he's got something in his stomach, and he's going for chemotherapy. It's a nodule, I think, and it's about the size of an inch. But when he had gone to the doctor before, it was only about like 3/8 of an inch, and it's grown to an inch in a few months. So he's getting this chemotherapy to get that thing treated. He's got like 4 or 5 more shots. He's just going like every week or so like that. So it's getting to the point where it's starting to affect his physical ability. So I try to check on him, or at least, glance over to his house and say it's okay. Like if his garbage needs to be put out or whatever, I roll his can out for him. And I do that kind of stuff for the guy. But that's, this is part of growing old, it's,
It sucks.
Growing old is not, well, I'll quote Pete. Pete says, growing old is not for the timid. And it's never been so accurate, it's tough.
And the older you get, the less timid you gotta be.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Well, and you went through quite an ordeal yourself not too long ago with the surgery you had, the heart. wasn't it?
I'm still thinking about how this all came about, but the long and short of it is I'm okay.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm not happy about is that I'm taking, well, I'll show you this. It's kind of funny. So when you get old and senile, then this is my first pill box. So my wife actually bought this for me. So what I do is I put my meds in here, and I fill it up for the week. I'll probably refill this. I actually got to take some pills tonight. So you have AM and PM here. I got this. Of course, the PM is the purple.
There's AM and FM?
Yeah, that's right.
I got this
Yeah,
one.
it's short
right
wave
here.
delete. There's
I don't know
nothing on
if you've
this
seen
side.
this one before. These are my pills right here.
Oh, there you go. Now those are good pills.
Nice. Nice.
Yes. My wife
remember
was a
one
Jack
time
Daniels fan. My wife liked Jack Daniels and Coke, and the other thing she liked was Sambuca, which was that licorice flavor.
Oh yeah. Ugh.
Yes.
Never liked licorice.
I'm a dark beer guy. I like the stouts. I don't know why.
Have any of you ever had grappa?
Oh
yeah.
That tastes like medicine.
What is that?
The bottom
It
of the
is-
barrel.
It is an acquired taste.
When I was in Italy years ago, I was working over there for the government. And some of the guys had, they rented a villa in the village, and they were having a party one night. And so I went to it. And this Italian guy with 2 very attractive Italian women showed up with bottles of Johnny Walker Red. But it wasn't Johnny Walker Red. It was grappa. And I was drinking that stuff like it was Coke. Well, that's the only time in my life I ever got sick. I had no idea what happened. But they did say that I was the life of the party.
That's funny.
I had a good time, but I don't remember it. The only thing I remember is waking up in the morning and looking out through the door to the kitchen where my friend's wife was cooking breakfast. And she turned around, she looked at me, she says, "Well, welcome back."
I'd rather drink Jägermeister before
Yes.
grappa.
I had never had that stuff again.
It's,
Yeah.
That's great moonshine.
Hey, did anyone the recently posted kind of swap meet on the club? Did anyone have a look at that or grab that RCA Victor Siesta radio? That was
nice.
That was beautiful. I froze. I said, "Oh, I would love to own that," but I know
I can only imagine how much it was.
that's the thing. I was curious. I went into Radio Addict just to see past, sales. I think the last one's for like $600. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
I would I love to own it, but I said, well, that's gonna be out of price range. I want.
I haven't seen one of them in quite a few years.
Yeah.
It's kind
Yeah,
of a rare radio.
and that one, the pictures that were posted looked really nice.
So all the images and everything on there were nice and sharp and really good shape, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this thing looks,
Wow.
wow,
Look like new.
it's probably that well past $500 mark, probably. You know, you never know if you can get a good deal, but I don't know if anybody had actually called or contacted the gentleman, but I figured I won't bother. Why torture myself? Because I know it'll be pricey, because that's, I think 1939 was the World's Fair radio, wasn't it?
No, there was a different one for the World's Fair. That was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a little different. I don't remember
okay.
that though.
My mistake then, thanks.
It was a common radio though, just a little 5-tube, nothing fancy, but they just
Yeah.
put those fancy cabinets around it.
Exactly. That's what it is. It isn't for the audiophile, you know. It's just the cabinet. But so well, it's funny how we managed to burn the time away. I'm you know, we could. It's sort of that witching hour that I could show a few more pictures, but we're sort of at the 8:30 point. I'm wondering whether we should do is maybe next meeting we'll cover Fall Brookline, the still photos. Some of you had a chance to look at the videos, so the videos cover a good amount of it, but I have lots of still photos. And Bob, of course, again, I'm going to invite you. I am just going to add you to the
I would love to come back and see Brookline because I've never been there. So
yeah, well, you know what? I'm
That'd
just
be
going to
nice.
add you. I'm just going to add you to the list, and you can come and join if you so choose. You know, going
great.
forward.
I appreciate that, John. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Because you always had a lot of value, a lot of fun
You
stories.
you guys have a nice Zoom meeting. I enjoy it.
Well, it's all the contributors.
I got to ask Larry a question. I see Larry here. Larry, earlier I saw you. Now I have two cats now. I just got a 9-week-old feral cat that we're taking care of right now. He had some medical issues trying to get, but I saw that you had a cat in your lap earlier. Is he still there or did he run away?
He went on to do other things.
Okay. So how old is your cat?
Well, I've got two. That one that you saw, I think he's about 7 years old, probably
Okay.
7.5 years old. And I've got another one that's about 4.5.
Okay, so we're going. All right, so I'm going to be a little bit behind you, but my cat's a little younger. You guys may have seen Berwin in a couple of my videos. He's a black and white Sylvester kind of cat, and the tuxedo cat, as you call him. He's a 4.5-year-old male, and he's a little tentative to come up to the new one. He's still trying to. It's only been we just got this kitten on Tuesday and it's Thursday, so he's right in here. He's in the bathroom, so we can close the doors at night, but. Berwin has gone about as close to about 6 feet apart, and they're just trying to, but it takes about a week to a week and a half, supposedly, according to the cat experts, for the cats to get acclimated to each other and all that. But
right now,
I grew up on a farm, so I love all animals, but we have cats only because all my neighbors have dogs, and our houses on our block are probably about 20 feet apart from each other. So the last thing I want to do is have a dog, and then somebody else's dog 3 doors down is going to bark, and then my dog's going to bark, and next thing you know, the whole yard, you know how that works.
Yeah. What like Berwin? Is it Berwin the cat's name?
Berwin, yes.
Yeah, Berwin right now is just hoping that the cat's going to go away, but
well, actually, Berwin. Well, the new cat it's an orange tabby. It's real tiny.
Yeah,
and his name is Sunny, Sunny. I was kind of trying to get my wife to nudge him, like, oh, why don't we call him Sonny, like Sonny Corleone or something? No, it's Sonny,
Bob, this is so strange. That's the name of the orange tabby that was sitting on my lap.
No kidding.
Sunny, yes.
All right, here. I don't normally do this. Let me just go grab him. I'll be right back.
That's you guys are all aware that radioactive cats.
Our show and tell covers all aspects.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's really weird that his orange tabby has the same name as my orange tabby.
That's funny.
One of my kids named him because my son Nate adopted him.
Oh, what a cutie!
Oh, what a cute cat!
And he's 9 weeks old, and he was very congested, so we have antibiotics for him. and he had some stuff around his eyes that we cleaned a little bit more tonight.
Yeah.
But that's not unusual for kittens to have that. But when Berwin was real small, he was the same way. So this is Sonny, and Sonny's a blast. He just he runs around. We have a little cage set up in the bathroom right now until he gets a little bit better. Because now when I get done with him, I'm gonna have to wash my hands because I don't want to transmit any of that to the other cat. But
All right.
he's a little cutie. He's just a
He
little
is.
heartbreaker.
Can he detect bad tubes?
I'm gonna teach him. I rate. If you watch one of my videos from a couple years ago, I taught Berwin how to sort tubes for me. So he was actually sorting the radio tubes from the TV stuff for me. So I got to get this guy to do that too.
There you go. It's all in training. That's the idea.
That's it.
May I point out that radioactive cats have 18 half-lives?
That's a good one. I have to remember that one.
But well, this is great. It was actually a lot of fun. We just ended up shooting the breeze, I guess they say. And sorry for the little hiccup due to the electrical storm, but it happens every so often. That was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, so looking forward, in a couple of weeks from now, we will certainly have, we'll probably do Fall Brookline. Plus also, John has got pictures from AWA that he'll want to show. John must have dropped off, judging from the fact that I don't see him anymore here. So we'll have, that. I have some photos from the recent meet, the Arizona Antique Radio Club meet. So we have lots of photos and things to fill our time looking ahead. So I'll be sure, Bob, I'll have you just join on. So we'll see you in about 2 weeks. Is there anything else anyone needs to bring up or?
No, good meeting. Good meeting.
Yeah, it was fun. It's the whole point of it. It's just everybody sit back and relax and share their hobby. But if no one has anything else to bring up, without further ado, I guess I'll probably just wrap it up and let you guys off a little bit early. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Thank you, John.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Thanks
Listen,
for
have a
indulging.
great time out there.
Hey,
Just remember, if you start becoming overwhelmed by the temperature, remember it's a dry heat.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Hey, Bob, quick question before I hang up is what kind of a video camera do you use when you film the Kutztown? I've been meaning to ask you.
What type of camera?
Yeah, what you use to film it?
Oh, I used to use a Sony, but it was only capable of doing 720. And then I'm not a photographer by any stretch of the imagination. So I was relying on people that I know that are a lot more camera savvy than me. And actually, President Rich of the New Jersey Club talked me into getting, he says, get a Panasonic Lumix. So they're very highly rated camera. So I bought a Lumix camera kit, literally off of eBay. It was $300. I bought it like about 4 years ago, and it's a wonderful camera, especially for people that are camera illiterate like me.
Yeah, I have friends who have that. They do super job. They do a really super job.
Right now I'm talking to you on my Mac. I have 2 MacBook Pros. This is my newer one. This is from I think 2016 or 2015. But I use a program in Mac too that I do the video editing, and it's called iMovie. And it's just really easy to use, and I can make effects with it and adjust colors, and I can do all kinds of cool stuff with it. So
what's it called again?
iMovie. It's just made by Apple.
Okay.
No,
my wife kind of swayed me there because she's a graphic artist, and my wife has like one of these big Jagunda Mac things downstairs in her room that I fixed up for her many years ago. So she got, I don't know what size the screen is. I think it's 27-inch or something like it. It's almost as big as the TV in our living room.
Yeah.
So how are you editing?
When you're doing that kind of stuff, you have a lot of windows open and.
Well, as long as you have a lot of RAM, they'll hold that up. That's you can do that.
How much RAM do you have in your Mac?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I know I have more in this machine than I have. My older one that I used to do videos on years ago, I keep that by my bench. And what I primarily do with that is I'll go to Nostalgia Air or somewhere and get a schematic. And then with the Mac, it's very easy to blow it up or shrink it, or where if you're looking at a specific area on a schematic. So I use that computer for mostly schematics.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of writing for magazines, and I use my Mac, and I use a program called Canvas.
Mhm.
And it's a very, very good graphics program. What's nice about it is it will save your files in almost any format you want.
Mhm.
And then of course I use Word. Everybody uses Word.
Oh, sure. Yeah, just
And,
about everybody does.
My wife has through her job a subscription for Adobe.
Mhm.
So there's
That's
something,
very expensive now.
well, she actually uses her license or work license here on her Mac.
Mhm.
So one cool thing about that is, and I know it's crazy expensive, but you mentioned that Canvas, you could change basically any kind of like you can go to a TIFF, to a JPEG, to
Yeah, anything you
what-
want. I mean, it's
yeah, and
amazing.
that's what basically the Adobe will do the same thing. Only
Yeah.
we don't pay for it.
Yeah.
It's just that she just has a copy of it on her machine here, still in her
Well,
name.
I used to buy the newest issue of Canvas that came out every couple of years, and now you can't buy it anymore. You rent it. And it's
Oh.
very reasonable. It's only like $50 a year.
That's
And
not bad.
No, and they
Not
just
if you
and you
use
get
it a
all
lot,
the
that's a great
updates and
number.
everything. Huh?
That's if
Well,
you
that's
use
cheap,
it all the
yeah.
time, that's a good number.
Yep. And it's an excellent program. I've been using it.
I'll have to ask my wife, because my wife is downstairs right now on her computer.
I've
so
been
I'll have to ask
using
her.
Canvas now for almost 25, 30 years. It's a good program.
I think I got my first computer in 1996. I think it was Windows 95.
Yeah.
I bought a Gateway,
Sure.
and my Windows program, I had to get it partitioned. So I had like two partitions in Windows 95 or something like that, just to make the thing work. And I tell you what, I lived so close to the telephone company for my dial-up modem. I was with my 56K modem, I was getting connected at 52.5 or 53, and
That's not bad.
I was steaming, man.
Proximity to your CO always makes a difference, even in the early days of DSL, because that's really against your best rates. It was really proximity.
Oh, those
to
were
your
the good old days.
I've been working on broadband networks since early 1999, and that was the start of digital subscriber line, which is still out there. Still in Europe, still lying out there. But it's been of course DSL has evolved from the early days of ADSL when you were lucky to get a meg downstream. If you're lucky, you felt pretty good at that, and you were usually looking at the sub meg. Now it's it's still out there, of course, much better technology, but now fiber and everything else that we laugh, you have a 10 meg line, you look at someone and say, oh, that's, you're in the dark ages. So
you remember when when the 40 megabyte hard drives came out? I'm giving my age away now. But
How about 10 megabyte? 10 in
10 or 1.
Well,
I'm using DSL right now. It's all I've got.
Yeah.
How many
When I was in college,
how many of you read the
guy.
book, The Hunt for Red October?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, when they started describing that magical processor with Sonar that they used to track the Red October with, that actually existed, and it was the very first digital sonar ever made. And I know that because I worked on it.
Interesting.
Wow.
And I did all the data conversion in the front end to interface everything from the analog world to the digital world. And that had, at the time, a very, very sophisticated computer. It had all of about 4,800 bytes of memory.
Jeez. I know the deal. I remember doing I worked on networking gear using one-time programmable devices, the little 6502 chip, and you're working 2K of memory. I did all in assembly language. You know what? I loved it because the reason is you really had to be really imaginative and efficient.
You did.
And it really, really put a lot of rigor behind it. Whereas today, processor speeds and memory, you can be as sloppy as you want because between compilers, you can just do it because it's just memory. And it just drives me crazy because I'm sort of, the old I like to see clean, efficient, software. And sometimes I do spot checks every so often if I have a little bit of bandwidth, which is rare at work. I have to look at someone's implementation if I'm trying to debug something, to help out somebody. I look at it and I go, what were they thinking when they did this? This is, and I just kind of like, it's too late. It's already shipping. So it's not like I make them redo it. I just like, you guys, what? Memory and processing, no one notices. But back in the old days,
Well, I was looking,
very rigorous.
I was looking at the specs recently of one of the, not the newest, but this was like a 2-year-old Mac desktop that had 4 processors, and they were all had 4 processors and 16 core. So that means it could do, I don't know, it's just mind-boggling. But the processors were 4.2 gigahertz each.
Yeah,
that's the speed.
Still
And this thing had 128 megabytes, not megabytes, gigabytes of RAM.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's it's not that expensive and anything. It'll hum. But yeah, that's why I just find occasionally if you'll see Adam Vaughn, he's our club member, he's also a director, he has a great vintage computer collection. You see all the stuff that we laugh at, but there's still, and all of his, as far as I know, are all functional. In fact, they had a table. I think I have quite a few in the video. If you actually watch the video, there's some stuff. I think I took some photos anyway. I got some stills. So
I have downstairs one of the very, not one of the very first IBM laptops.
Oh, how fun! Yeah, they were kind of the standard.
With the sections that bolted on the back, remember?
Yeah, absolutely. But well, boys, it was fun. A lot of fun chatting, and we managed to burn extra 10 or 15 minutes out of it. I know we could probably go on for hours.
Yes.
But pleasure having you on, and thanks everybody for attending. And
I suspect that, I just want to say one thing, but I suspect that we have a tremendous amount of collective talent on this thing.
There's absolutely no question there. I mean, when I look at the club, just reading the emails, everybody's got a remarkable amount of expertise and knowledge, even it's niche knowledge, but if you add it all together, it's aggregate. I'm sure that's true, Bob, in the NJARC and elsewhere. It's a remarkable amount of background and expertise,
It's funny you bring that up, because I've always kind of gone on the pretext when I'm going into stuff like this that when I joined the club in 1997, the New Jersey club anyway, I was trying to get my feelers and see what everybody was doing. And then I found the individuals were the ones that were like in the TV repair and radio repair shops. And I would do whatever. Now, most of these guys are gone, but these guys are at that time were in their 60s, 70s and 80s. And I was picking their brain because even though I did this stuff as a kid, and then I kind of got away from it because I just fell in love with old cars, and I was fixing cars, and I did some drag racing and flipping cars. And then, all that went away because I met my wife. I bought this house. I didn't have the funds to do that kind of stuff. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you're never too old to learn. So the fact that I'm with you guys and I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm picking up little bits here and there too. So you never stop learning. And as you guys know, probably in even your work history, you always work with either a guy or a girl that knew everything. And those people were the ones that were usually the first ones out the door because somebody would catch them, BSing their way through something, So I've always tried to keep an open mind and learn. So that's why I'm really
right attitude. That's the way to
listening to you guys talk tonight. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy this hobby an awful lot. And you can see I have absolutely no enthusiasm, no personality at all. Nothing to do. I'm just retired. I'm just going to sit here and just listen to you guys talk. So, but I had a lot of fun tonight. So thank you for inviting me. And
Bob,
if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you very much. I am 5 people short right now of having 3,000 subscribers. I think, yeah, even though that's not really a big number, that's a big deal in what we do because we are
Absolutely.
we are in such a niche thing here.
Yeah,
To have 3,000 people watching me,
that's a lot.
I don't think I would want to watch me. I have sometimes, but the fact that they come around and listen to me, I'm flattered. I mean, it's just such a sincere form of flattery. And it's also important to me that we pass this on to the younger folk. If you can get this thing into somebody that's in their, they're still a child, or if they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, keep this hobby alive, man, because we're not finite. We're just going to be gone sooner or later, and love to have somebody pick up the ball here.
You're absolutely right.
So that's just my feelings. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'll get off the soapbox now.
No, Bob.
Nice to see you guys.
You speak for all of us.
Okay.
For all of us. But well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the rest of your week and into the weekend. And of course, we'll stay tuned for another episode of Epic Zoom. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, maybe, Bob. But thanks everybody. Thanks for a fun meeting. It was just fun, just relaxed discussion.
I want a full report on your Arizona trip too.
Yeah, we'll give you some pictures. I'll definitely. I don't have anywhere near the amount of pictures that we show at other meets because it is much more smaller meet. But there was some good stuff.
There'll be some fun things there, I'm sure.
Absolutely,
it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, and I'll be back in the East Coast before long anyway, so be back to usual. All right, boys.
See you guys.
Take care of yourselves.
Go on.
Take care now.
Take care.